You're listening to the Values and Leadership Podcast, where business leaders share their stories of purposeful impact and success.
Welcome to the Values and Leadership Podcast, the podcast for innovative leaders who want to apply new ways of doing things in work to become more successful and have a purposeful impact on their stakeholders. I am your host, Ahmed Arif. We invite corporate leaders, consultants, and executives who believe in participative leadership and love to share their positive life and business experiences, their sense of direction, sense of meaning, and how they challenged their thinking in growing their business and the people around them to their next best stage. In this episode, we are discussing employee-owned companies with Stephen Mabbs. Steve is an accomplished leader, strategist, director, coach, and mentor with 25 years of experience building and running professional services firms. Steve highly values relationships at all levels in organizations and places a key emphasis on culture and teamwork as drivers of exceptional performance. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thanks, Ahmed. It's great to be with you.
I'm really happy to have you on the show today. You are our first guest from Australia.
I feel very, very privileged. Hopefully you can understand my accent.
No, great. You speak very well. Your accent is very clear. Because I like to invite guests from different continents who speak about emerging and radical leadership approach. Because there is not only one way in doing business, which is the current traditional command and control environment. So we are discussing novel and radical approaches, which is the one that you are implementing now. So I would like first to know about Steve, how he evaluates success. How do you look to success? What success looks to you?
What does success look like to me? Well, I guess to me, a strong part of success is being selfless. As an individual, I personally believe that, success is measured by the impact that we have on the lives of other people. At a personal level, and I think as an organization it's the same thing, but for our clients and on the ability that they have to achieve their own strategic objectives and the purpose for their clients, because I kind of feel like in the world it's a virtuous web that we all live in and that we're all dependent on each other, and in my view we've got to look for ways that we can help each other out and win together. So for me, creating joint success is really what it's all about. I think if you can figure out a way of doing that where people win together, then I think you'll be successful. I think if you're successful on your own, it's kind of a selfish form of success, then I don't think that's a sustainable form of success. You've got to help other people be successful as well, whether they're your clients or your partners or your employees' families or whatever.
Great. So how do you translate that into your business philosophy?
Yeah, look, when we first set this company up about 4 years ago, we sat down and we tried to think of all the things that we had an opportunity to change, because my co-founders and I had been working in the industry for quite a number of years, and we'd had limited opportunity really to start afresh, and that's what we had now. We had an incredible opportunity to actually create a new company from scratch and completely change the way that we were going to do business. And one of the we sort of came up with 4 key areas to begin with, and one of them was actually called joint success or shared success, that we felt we wanted to bake in everything we did. And really what we were responding to, Ahmed, was a gripe that a lot of our clients and a lot of customers in the industry generally have, which is that digital projects overrun. They're full of risk, and they don't always go to plan, and so they end up costing more money and costing more time. And most of these projects are on what we call the time and materials basis, which means the partner or the supplier is getting paid by the hour or by the day for their effort. So that means when the project overruns, the client has to foot the bill, and the partner actually makes more money because more time and more people equals more profit. So this actually causes a lot of stress for clients and a lot of friction. So we wanted to change that. So one thing we always like to offer our clients is skin in the game, we call it, where we define success jointly. So in other words, we agree up front what success looks like for an engagement, and then try and structure the commercials of the engagement so that we win together, or we don't win together, as the case may be, if the project doesn't achieve what we jointly hoped it would. Sometimes the project parameters don't really allow for that, but the clients always like to have that discussion, and they like to know that it's an offer that's on the table as well. I guess so that's with the clients, the joint success with the clients. The other sort of key part of the model was also having joint success with our employees. So we wanted to kind of change up the employee model a bit, the way that we employed people. And instead of just employing people as employees, we knew that a lot of the people that we were trying to attract into our business were senior people who, had a lot of experience, and there were some entrepreneurs in there as well, people who'd thought about, as we all have at some point, everyone's thought about starting their own company or going out contracting on their own. And those were the people that we wanted in our organization. And so we felt we've got to come up with a model that actually allows them to be successful in our company. And so one of the first things we did was to set up an employee share scheme where we allowed anybody who joined our organization as an employee to be an owner of the company as well. We did that using a few different kind of constraints. One of them was we set up a single share class, which is quite unusual, actually. So when we talk about the founders versus other employees who own shares in the company, it's actually the same class of shares, which in Australia we call ordinary shares. But quite often when founders set up companies, they'll set up ordinary shares for them, which gives them voting rights, so a controlling interest as well as an economic interest. But for employees, and they can use different share classes to achieve this, employees may get an economic interest only, for example. It might be a profit share plan or something like that. Well, we felt when we set the company up that we wanted the company to be sustainable going forward. We didn't set this company up just to flip it and sell it. We wanted it to be a sustainable company long after the founders have left. And we felt the best way to do that was to set up the shares on a very equitable basis so that we're all in it together, we're all taking the same risks, and we all benefit exactly the same in terms of company success. So that for us was a key part of what alignment was all about, was making sure that, we win together with our employees and with our clients, that we all win together or we don't.
Great. So you wanted to share with employees even risks, because usually in normal companies, owners only take the risk and employees take only fixed salaries. But now we change the formula. You want to share the risk with employees and share profits as well through share class ordinary shares that you mentioned about. So it looks like really a different model in business.
Yeah, but we do give employees a choice of how much risk they want to take. For example, if someone joins our organization and they don't want to take any risks at all, they just want to be an employee, that's fine. The way I describe it to people is they're kind of holding a lever which goes all the way from employee to owner, and they can choose, the sweet spot about where they want to position that lever themselves. So if they just want to be an employee and get an annual bonus, for example, that's fine. That's completely okay. And we have plenty of people who are in that category. But some people want to join us because they really want to share in our success, and they're willing to take a bit of a risk in order to do that. And that's what we facilitate. Yeah, there's always a risk, when you buy shares in any company, even if it's a publicly listed large blue chip company, you're always taking a risk. As it turns out, in our company, it's been quite successful, and those employees who bought shares early on have done quite well out of doing that. But share ownership is just part of it. The other part of it is options as well. In Australia, up until about 10 years ago, some companies used to give away shares to their employees, but they changed the rules about 10 years ago, and it meant that when you received shares from the company, for example, as part of a bonus, that they were taxed straight away, and a lot of people couldn't afford to pay that tax. And so companies stopped mainly giving away shares, but options, which is the right to buy a share at a certain price for a certain period of time, options are still attractive from a taxation point of view. So companies still use options as a way of rewarding their employees, which guarantees them, as I say, the right to buy a share. So it still gives them a security interest in the company, even though it's not a fully paid up share. And they still feel a sense of ownership out of that. And they don't have to outlay anything for it. So that's a good system as well.
Great to know about the reward system and the flexibility of giving the employees to determine how much risk you want to have. And if someone prefers to be an employee, not more an owner, would that make a difference in the culture inside? People treat each other differently because you are not a risk taker while I'm a risk taker. Is there something like this inside, or no, it's just normal? Is there a structure as well in the company or not? Can you give us more insight?
Yeah, sure. Look, I mean, the culture of our company is that, we're all created equal. I don't think there's a special club for those who have shares. We all, in fact, a lot of people don't even know who has shares in the company. It's kind of a private thing that really people only see once a year at the annual general meeting. You get to see, they're at the AGM, so they must have shares. I think, on a day-to-day basis, it's not something that really sort of factors into people's thinking, because everyone has skin in the game with the bonus scheme and so on. But in terms of our structure, we do have a structure, which is we have different levels of consulting for our consultants. So level 1 to level 5, and we call them consultants, senior consultants, managing principal consultants, and directors. Mm-hmm. And then in each region, we have a managing director, and those managing directors report to me. But we kind of, the way we think about that structure is it's more of a structure of support than it is a structure of authority, because I see my job really as empowering and supporting those who report directly to me. That's my main job, is to help them be successful. If I can help them be successful in their jobs, then I've done my job, and they feel the same way as well. So really, at the end of the day, whereas most organizations sort of have an A-shaped hierarchy, ours is, I think of it more as a V-shaped hierarchy, where I'm at the bottom actually, and our most junior employees and the ones who are actually on the front line working with our clients are at the top, and our job is really to support them and help them do their best work, and that's what makes us all successful.
Mm-hmm. Great. When you mentioned structure of support, not authority, this has to have something with your leadership ideas or leadership beliefs, definitely. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, sure. I guess, my philosophy has always been that you're really only successful, as I mentioned, when you help other people be successful. And when you figure out how you're going to do that, how you're going to help other people be successful, then I think you've found your purpose. And I think that's true at an organizational level, but also at an individual level. When I got together with my co-founders and we started Escient about 4 years ago, I didn't realize at the time, I didn't say, this is my purpose. I know what my purpose is, and this is my purpose. But when we went through that exercise about 2 years in, 18 months in, after we started, we went through the Simon Sinek Start With Why. We went through a workshop to discover what our why was, and because it was important to us that we sort of use that as a compass. And part of that process, if you have a look at the way he describes it, part of that process is that the founders of the company and the heads of the company need to do an individual why discovery. And that's what I did. So when I went through that, I followed the process, and he outlines a process to follow through workshops in his book. When I followed that process, my personal why that I discovered was to create a place where amazing people can work together to change the world. That was my purpose. And I've thought about that a lot since then. And I've kind of unpacked it into 3 key components. One of them is about people. So it's people, place, and impact. One of them is about people, which is about working with amazing people, who are different, but they're bound together by common values and a common purpose. But otherwise, they're very different people, the people that we have working in our organization. It's a very diverse organization. The second one was about place. So to create a place where amazing people can work together to change the world. So place was really about having a place where we can collaborate and solve problems together, and then the sum of our joint capability, if you like, becomes greater than the parts, and we can do things together that we couldn't have done on our own. And that's to me the true value of an organization, is when you can do something together as a team that you can do on your own. And the third component was impact, where we're looking to change the world, as in my why. And so we need to seek out projects that help to improve people's lives. And this is not just about being, altruistic. I honestly believe that the value of any organization is measured, or should be measured, and is measured by how much it improves people's lives. And that's one reason why, we're careful about which clients we work with as well. For example, our largest number of clients, if you look at it by industry sector, is the not-for-profit sector. We have, I think, 14 clients who have a social purpose. Each of them has a social purpose, and we're helping them with that social purpose. We don't do any work for alcohol or tobacco companies. We're really looking to try and have a positive impact in the work that we do. And, not all clients are a good fit for us. So we tend to try and hunt down those that we can really help, and the ones that give us the opportunity to help their clients as well.
Mm-hmm. Great to know about going into Simon Sinek, start with the why, and really ending up with a clear statement and breaking it down into three components: the people and the place and the impact. This is very, very powerful. And how do you select your clients? This is very nice. I like this way. And you mentioned the success as well, because the measures of success, this is very important to you. How do you agree with your clients on your joint success? Can you give one example? For a profit company, with a for-profit.
Yeah. Look, even I'd say with all clients, actually, Ahmed, even if it's difficult to define what success looks like, then it's a conversation worth having, because quite often, projects are initiated without a clear goal in mind. They're kind of exploratory projects, and exploratory projects, as long as they're, set up on that basis, that's fine. But it's always a good conversation worth having at the start of a project to make sure there's a common understanding about what success looks like. And I think these days, the model is changing a bit too. I think 10, 15 years ago, we had grand visions about, what projects needed to accomplish, and we went through a waterfall process, and it was a big undertaking, and there was a big investment commitment that was made up the front. Of course, that's completely thrown out now with a lot of organizations, and the incremental investment model is becoming a lot more pervasive, and which means that you don't have to do all the thinking and predicting and benefits definition and all that up front. You can actually figure it out as you go. So I think it's actually a safer model, and it's a more efficient model as well, because quite often, none of us really knows, what we want up front. It doesn't matter whether you're, buying a new car or whether you're, buying a new computer. You think you know what you want, but then when you start to do some research, you realize, actually, I thought I knew what I wanted, but now I realize it's something different. And so you sort of you come to this incremental understanding about what success looks like. But the important thing is that you have a conversation about that, and that everyone's on the same page about what success, whether it's a 1 week sprint that you're doing, or whether it's a 1 year project that you're doing. It's just important to have that discussion up front.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I was looking for an example, on a real example with one client to understand this kind of success. And you agreed on materialistic KPIs or qualitative KPIs maybe. So can you give us something, example of like this?
Of what success looks like?
When you go into a project, so let's say there is in normal project, there is something called deliverables, let's say, or KPIs, let's say. So do you remember any case where there was this kind of deliverables or KPIs between you and the client, where it reflects the success, joint success that you discussing about?
Yeah, look, absolutely. I've worked on some large projects over the years in my time, and without going into the details of some of those projects or some of those clients, I can tell you that, I've worked on some large defence projects, for example, where, a lot of the requirements were defined up the front, and that requirements definition itself quite often can take more than a year just to elicit and capture the requirements of the project. And some of those requirements are far-reaching and not always proven to be achievable the time that they're actually captured and locked down. And so as a result, over the following years, there can be a lot of analysis done on those requirements and a lot of time spent on trying to achieve them, when in actual fact, no one really knew that they were achievable, and actually the effort would have been probably spent better elsewhere by having more of a target and then actually directing the effort into something that could be improved rather than something that was never really going to be able to be achieved. Yeah, sorry, I can't talk in more details about some of the projects, but that scenario kind of applies to a number of projects.
Great. So the conversation with the clients themselves, they made a new exploration for things, as you mentioned. You saved time and you saved energy and you saved a lot of time, which could have been wasted or even directed in a better place. So this is the kind of the result that you can reach with the conversation with the client.
Yeah, absolutely. And, look, in some cases, and it's the same with us individually, some cases, the main objective is to achieve whatever you can within the budget. And, the client is trying to do that. But there's always a trade-off, between cost, quality, and functionality. You can set any two of those, and the third one is set by how you set the other two. So, for example, if you say, okay, I've got $1,000 to spend on this task, and I need it to achieve all of this functionality, well, then the quality is going to be pretty poor. Whereas if you say, I've got $1,000 and I want the quality to be good, then that's going to result in less functionality. So it's important that you kind of understand that cost, quality, functionality trade-off, and that you don't try and set all three, because it can result in a lot of stress and ultimately disappointment.
Mm-hmm. Great. And this one last thing regarding the pay forward. You mentioned that you are making a lot of clients with which is for not for profit, and you are helping them in their social purpose. So is this the way that you pay forward through your business, or there is other ways?
That's certainly one of them. I mean, and it helps our people too, because everyone, a lot of our people in particular are looking to make a positive impact on the world. And by working with clients that are doing that as well, we can sort of amplify that impact, and it's also a great team building opportunity as well. But I guess my view is, besides the 15 clients that we have worked with in the not-for-profit sector or the social purpose sector, we're all looking to try and have a social impact, and so we're encouraging our people actually to be true to their own purpose. If they have a cause that they would individually like to support, we are looking for ways to enable them to be able to do that. It's a discussion that we're having at the moment. Something that's important to me is homelessness, for example, to me personally. And so we have an event in Australia called the CEO Sleep Out, which I've done for the last 2 years, and raised about $10,000 to help the Vinnies, which is an organisation here, to help the homeless. And a number of our staff have their own causes that they support. For example, one of our consultants in Melbourne is very passionate about the environment, and so he's actually the chair of the Beyond Zero Emissions Investment Reference Group, and that's the way he is kind of doing his fulfilling his social impact. But we're also, Ahmed, having a discussion internally at the moment about a company's social purpose, some one kind of purpose that we can all get behind, because I'm kind of conscious that if we all get behind one thing, then we can have a much greater impact, particularly if we team with another organisation that works in that area. So we're having a discussion. I started this I think it was about 18 months ago. We're having a discussion about, what would that social purpose be? And we've talked about a number of different things. For example, it could be homelessness, or it could be helping underprivileged youth. It could be domestic violence, or mental health and suicide prevention. It could be the environment, or it even could be something like animal rights, and we've been having that discussion in the background. And I guess the area that really most people are resonating with is probably mental health. Which we believe in the modern environment is something that we're all kind of challenged by in our lives, and in particular, if you have a look at what's happened over the last 8 months with COVID-19, and a lot of people are working in an isolated way remotely. We're all having less social contact than we used to have, and so the initial warning signs that you might get when you talk to somebody face to face that they're having a hard time, it's harder to read those signs when we're all talking to each other over the internet. So that's probably the cause, the social purpose that we'll be adopting for Escient. And I think that'll give everyone the opportunity to really kind of focus on one thing where we can probably have a bit more of an impact. I think it's important too for organisations to kind of be authentic about their social purpose, because my view is, I think probably 10 years ago, we used to think it was the government's responsibility to make a difference in the world, and we kind of looked to the government for leadership, actually, so that if there was a homeless problem, you'd say, well, why isn't the government doing something about it? Or if there was a problem with the environment, why isn't the government doing something about it? Whereas I think we're well past that now. I think people realise actually that the government has quite often very limited ability to actually, to really do much at all. That actually the true power is in the community. It's with the leaders in the community, business leaders, community leaders, religious leaders. They're the ones with the real power to shape the world in the future. And I think it's up to us to really to be true leaders. You need to be well-rounded and authentic in everything you do, not just focused on business. You need to look at what's happening in the world as well.
I like this evolution in the thinking and the growth that you are taking from only a business company to having a lot of non-for-profit clients to having a social vision. So this is kind of evolution, and this is very nice. I like how we go through into this session. I really wanted to thank you very much, Steve, for the time, for all the insights that you brought today. And I really hope all the best for you and all the team and all your great people in Escient.
Thanks very much, Ahmed. It's been lovely talking to you, and best of luck with your new podcast series. I've listened to a few of them, and they're really great to listen to. So good luck with it, and all the best to you, my friend.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. Thank you. Dear listeners, in the next episode of the Values and Leadership podcast, we will share the secrets of success from another successful leader in business. Tune in to learn more about participative leadership and purposeful impacts in business.